ETS2 has a huge problem, and the next updates, 1.58 to 1.60, might actually solve it. Since 2012, Euro Truck Simulator 2 has grown in ways very few games ever do. New trucks, new DLCs, new cargo packs, new systems. And honestly, we appreciate all of it. Every new truck model that feels more detailed than the last. Every new map expansion that opens up another part of Europe. Every new feature that quietly makes the game feel a little more modern. ETS2 today is not the same game it was when it launched, and that's a good thing. This game is still alive after more than a decade because SCS Software chose patience over shortcuts. A dedicated team, a progressive philosophy, slow, careful development instead of chasing trends. And as things stand right now, ETS2 still has a long life ahead of it. But here's where things start to feel complicated. As the game grows, the problem grows with it. Sometimes, all this progress feels like it's doing something strange to the game. Sometimes, it feels like progress itself is exposing a weakness that's been there for years, quietly hiding under newer content. Because the newest additions keep pushing ETS2 forward, yet there's a ghost that still haunts this game. And you don't see that ghost in menus. You don't see it in trailers. You feel it when you drive. There are moments in ETS2 where everything feels right. You're driving through Norway, following scenic mountain roads that flow naturally and give you space to breathe. Or you're cruising along the coast of Greece, where the road opens up, the light feels soft, and the journey matters more than the delivery. In those moments, ETS2 feels calm, confident, modern. It becomes the kind of game you play to relax, not rush, but then you keep driving. You approach older regions, older cities, and suddenly the experience shifts. The road design tightens. Intersections feel awkward. Traffic flow feels unnatural. Not challenging in a good way, just outdated. That's when it becomes clear what the ghost really is. ETS2 doesn't always feel like one game. It feels like two different generations existing at the same time. One part of ETS2 shows what the game has become. Rebuilt regions, modern DLC areas, carefully designed road flow. The other part shows what the game used to be. Cities and layouts designed for a much smaller, much simpler ETS2. And the more new content gets added, the more obvious that difference becomes. Ironically, progress makes the problem louder. Every new DLC raises expectations. Every modern rework highlights what hasn't been touched yet. And this is exactly why I think the next updates, 1.58 to 1.60, might finally solve this problem, not by adding more content on top, but by going deeper and fixing the map itself through reworks. Because when you really think about it, this issue isn't about a lack of content, it's about imbalance. ETS2 has grown forward for years, but not every part of the map has been able to move at the same pace. Some areas reflect modern design standards, others are still carrying decisions made more than a decade ago, and that gap is what breaks immersion. This is why map reworks matter more now than ever before, not as side projects, not as optional improvements, but as the key to keeping ETS2 feeling like one coherent world. SCS has already shown that they understand this shift. Instead of endlessly expanding outward, they've started turning inward, rebuilding, reshaping, and modernizing what already exists. This is where regions like Benelux come into focus. Benelux sits right at the heart of the ETS2 map, surrounded by newer, higher-quality DLC areas, which makes its age impossible to hide. Reworking it isn't just about visuals. It's about restoring road flow, fixing city layouts, and making one of Europe's most important transit regions feel modern again. The UK has always felt disconnected from the rest of ETS2, not just geographically, but in design philosophy. Roads feel compressed, cities feel artificial. Driving there often reminds you how old parts of the game really are. A proper UK rework wouldn't just improve one country, it would remove one of the biggest immersion breaks in the entire game. And once those regions are addressed, it naturally raises a bigger question. What happens to Central Europe? Places like the Czech Republic sit in a difficult position. They're not broken, but they're surrounded by regions that have already moved on. And when modern roads meet older layouts, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. At some point, these regions don't need expansion. They need alignment. They need to feel like they belong to the same generation of ETS2 as everything around them. That's why these upcoming updates feel different. They're not about hype. They're not about trailers. They're about correction. They're about making sure the world doesn't just grow bigger, but grows together. Because if SCS keeps pushing newer, more modern content, while large parts of the existing map remain untouched, the game risks feeling fragmented. But if reworks continue, and maybe even speed up slightly, ETS2 starts to feel whole again. Not perfect, just consistent. And consistency is what will keep this game relevant for another 10 years. So maybe the next updates aren't really about adding something new. Maybe they're about finally letting ETS2 become one complete journey again, instead of two different games stitched together. And because these countries have changed heavily in real life as well, SCS had enough reasons to start fresh. These cities are not just added locations, they are built to modern standards with detailed industrial zones, realistic ports, bridges, and updated road networks. The developers confirmed major roads like the A2 motorway, one of the Netherlands' busiest and most iconic roads, a large portion of the E40 highway, the scenic coastal N57 road, famous for its dikes, dunes, and offshore wind farms. They built dams, dikes, canals, and polders, turning danger into fertile land. Large areas of the Netherlands sit below sea level. This means water management is not just part of the culture, it is part of the identity. SCS wants to bring that identity to ETS2. The landscapes will show coastal defenses. The roads will pass through polders. The terrain will reflect both the beauty and vulnerability of the region. Home to the European Union, NATO, and countless international institutions. But it's also a cultural gem filled with medieval squares, Art Nouveau architecture, and world-class cuisine. The graphics were dated. The cities were small. The road layout didn't match modern standards. A very large team is working on it. More than 20 map designers are part of the early development stages. Along with them are the research team, the road team, the asset department, programmers, audio designers, environment artists. This is one of the biggest reworks the studio has ever attempted.